Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that the future of the Star Wars universe seems to be quite expansive, not just with their new Star Wars comics, books, novels, and video games, but also, let's not forget about their new Star Wars TV shows and movies that are currently in the works by George, John, Dave, and other creatives coming on board to really handle the Star Wars universe in a different light. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one of the biggest moments in Star Wars history, of course, had a lot to do with the ending of the original trilogy and where it left things for George Lucas, right? Ever since then, a lot of fans have been having a lot of trouble with the sequel trilogy movies and trouble accepting them for what they are, and a lot of fans out there have valid reasons, right? Valid pieces of criticism based on what happened with the sequel trilogy films, especially The Last Jedi by Rian Johnson. Now, looking to where we are today, given that Favreau and Filoni are doing great things so far with Mando 3, Ahsoka, Mando 4, and even the Bo-Katan series and a whole lot more that's on the horizon, a lot of new announcements on our way that's going to take place at Celebration 2023. Now, of course, everything that happened with the sequel trilogy films, Kathleen Kennedy had a large hand in all of that, and really created quite a lot of problems behind the scenes. As we've gone over this before in the past, Kathleen Kennedy deleted a lot of the scenes, a lot of moments in the Star Wars movies that really could have enhanced the sequel trilogy films without a doubt. Now, as you all know, Adam Driver, I believe at least, was probably the best portion of the sequel trilogy films without a doubt. Now, what Adam Driver recently had to say about the sequels and Kathleen Kennedy may surprise a couple of fans out there. Now, with that being said, with Favreau and Filoni now actively involved in their new Star Wars shows that will be announced next year at Celebration, Disney executives are getting ready to also announce their official plans for the new movies by the end of next year to give fans something to look forward to for the theaters. Now, it's described that in a recent interview with actor Adam Driver, he went on to reveal a new truth about Kathleen Kennedy and the sequel trilogy movies. Now, Adam Driver went on to state the following to the fans. Well, yeah, when I was working on 9, I won't lie to anybody, but it was quite unsettling at many times on set. Kathy was giving JJ and Chris a hard time. I mean, a very hard time on how this film would end. I vividly remember that JJ wanted Ben Solo to live on and to be like that new Skywalker, you know, that walks into the sunset. And that's something that I was defending too. JJ really fought hard for this ending, and we even did some test shots for Ben Solo's survival in the Skywalker saga to leave his life less open-ended for fans. Kathy made it very clear to us that she wanted every Skywalker at the time to die and pass on. This way she could let go of the burden, as she would call it, that dates back to the originals by George Lucas. Now, I want to pause here quickly of what Adam Driver is pointing out here before I get to the next big reveal that he actually had to point out here. So as you all know, Adam Driver pointing it out that there were times on set where it was very unsettling between the cast and the crew, and especially Kathleen Kennedy, causing a lot of problems with, of course, the Star Wars universe. Now, given that a lot of things have been happening since then, you know, we obviously know that Daisy Ridley has been a lot more talkative about her experience with the Rise of Skywalker lately. Now you have Adam Driver kind of talking a little bit more. We haven't really heard about him in like 8 to 9 months. And he was finally able to set the record straight that there was a big plan by J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio to let Ben Solo survive and pretty much be alive and well by the very end of episode 9 and live on. And that is something that Kathleen Kennedy did not want to happen because she wanted to completely write off the burden of George Lucas and the overall Skywalker bloodline at the time, right? So Adam Driver pointing it out clear that that is exactly why, and the main reason why Ben Solo died. Now, this is where things begin to get very interesting, and what I would actually assume to be all the more original than what we got at the very end of episode 9, when we had pretty much a mirror version of the Endor celebration, right? So moving on to the next thing here, of what he had to say, we actually had shot a scene for Ben Solo making it alive off of Exegol, and had a scene in the original scripts that involved a reformed Ben Solo celebrating with Rey, Poe, and Finn on that foresty world. It was going to be quite magical. Something of an opposite of what happened in Return of the Jedi. The way I see it is, I would have been very emotional in a sense. It's like, what if Vader made it alive to the Endor celebration? JJ and myself were discussing this to happen at the end of the story to continue the Ben Solo Skywalker legacy and such. But Kathy felt that it was too unoriginal and over the top for fans and would have been too direct. Now, I want to point something out here quick for fans, is that this would have absolutely been something that I think would have been more of the original take of an ending for episode 9. The way that things happened, where Ben Solo died by Rey's side, was kind of equal to when Vader dies by Luke's side. It was pretty much the same thing. And then you have Rey escaping Exegol, that's like Luke escaping the Death Star 2, and then you had a very similar celebration of Endor sequence in pretty much a mirror version, like he points out, at the very end of episode 9. Imagine if they went through with this ending where you had a reformed Ben Solo joining the rebellion, and joining, of course, both Rey, John Boyega's Finn, Oscar Isaac's Poe Dameron, and seeing how that kind of reaction would have been like to see this, evil figure Kylo Ren as they saw him to turn good. And Adam Driver points out a very good point, that this would have basically been like a what-if scenario if Vader were to actually have lived and visited the Endor celebration sequence, and what the rebellion and the celebrators would have actually reacted to Vader being alive and reformed, what that would have been like. This, I don't know about you, I think that this would have been a beautiful moment in Star Wars, and it's very sad that Kathleen Kennedy had to sabotage that entire plan by J.J. Abrams, all because she did not want the Skywalker legacy, if you will, or the bloodline specifically, to live on, in the literal sense. Of course, she had no problem Rey calling herself Skywalker. That was the overall end game for Kathleen Kennedy at the time, that now Favreau and Filoni, by the way, are picking up the pieces and fixing everything by rehiring Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley for a Rise of Skywalker sequel series, and it's going to be an all post-episode 9 era content. So that's what Adam Driver had to say about that. And it really does, kind of point things out that J.J. Abrams really had a vision. So did Chris Terrio for Ben Solo, and Kathleen Kennedy just had to come in and just erase things and sabotage that, and it's just very unfortunate that the creators never really had full freedom back then when it came to, at least, the sequel trilogy movies, So overall, let me know what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.